Am I being dramatic, or was this nurse sexually violating? I'm a male ICU nurse and I wouldn't do what he did. In fact, I have a female patient tonight who I had to fix a respiratory lead. Sticker came off. I was like, one of your stickers came off. I need to replace it. I will have to move your gown to the side, but I won't expose any unnecessary areas. For her bath I got the female PCA, thankfully we had. Always ask for someone else if you feel uncomfortable. Anytime a doctor or nurse makes you feel uncomfortable, you are well within your rights to ask for someone else. This happens all the time, for both real and perceived uncomfortableness. Do not be ashamed for asking for a woman doctor, nurse when it comes to things that leave you in a compromising position if you want. You can start by calling the hospital and asking to speak to the risk management department. Don't be afraid to speak up about this. It was inappropriate. I'm a female nurse in a procedural area and I never remove patients' clothing without asking. We put EKG wires on people's chests dozens of times during the day and we don't remove the gown or pull it all the way down to do it. And we always explain what we are doing. There is a male tech who helps and he almost always defers to me to do this part with women. If he has to, he is very clear what he is doing and asks permission. This is not okay and the hospital needs to know about it. I've been a patient technician for several years at one of the largest hospitals in the US. I'm also graduating nursing school in a few months. I've been in these situations hundreds of times. He did not sexually violate you, but that doesn't mean you didn't feel violated. With that said, these are interactions we have with patients several times a shift. He was putting EKG leads on your chest. They need to be placed under your breast. The proper procedure includes using the back of your hand to lift the breast gently before placing. We see, touch naked bodies all day long. We become desensitized to it and if we're not careful, can forget how vulnerable, exposed the patient is feeling in the moment. We are taught to explicitly inform the patient before any physical contact is made. In any way, it should be verbalized beforehand as, okay, I need to X because of Y. I will do Z now, okay? Quote, I always tell the patient before I expose, touch a part of their body. He should have told you. Especially because he is a male and you are female. I'm sorry you had this experience. I would feel uncomfortable as well. Male nurses are awesome. I love them. But I wouldn't want a male nurse for my own care. I'm a female nurse. Anytime I need to expose skin on a patient, male or female, child or adult, I ask first. It's just the right thing to do. They will consent verbally or by removing clothing or whatever themselves. That male nurse should be more aware and respectful of your dignity and your personal space. I definitely feel like he should be reported. He should have explained what he was doing and 100% couldn't been more cooperative and modest about it. No warning for pulling the top down would be a huge red flag to me. Almost all nurses I've had, I ask for female nurses, will either ask me to do it myself when I'm comfortable or will ask to do it for me. I don't know if it's standard or just common decency, but I would feel violated in your position too. Frankly, as a rather mature woman, I've regularly had my breasts exposed because of cardiac monitoring with male nurses or technicians. It's not the most comfortable experience, but then again, when you've had 3 children, you get used to the lack of dignity involved in women's healthcare. I imagine it's just as awkward for men getting their catheter etc. done by female nurses. I just see it as part and parcel of putting up with medical events and get on with it. As a male nurse, this dude is deaf, a creep, or completely unaware of how to behave. He's either being creepy or negligent. Both are not okay. When performing any procedures or action, we ask or explain what we're going to do to the patient. Some older nurses and doctors treat it like it's nothing because they've done it so many times. But that's not an excuse. The fact that he was staring says that he's a pervert. If you're capable of dressing yourself, there's no legitimate reason for him to stare in that manner. Unless he purposely wanted to look. He took advantage of the fact that you didn't say anything. Yes, they are doing their job. They may be doing their job poorly. They can also be taking advantage of their job. Whatever the case is, your feelings are valid. I would report them. You are well within your rights to ask for a different nurse. You are not overreacting. The nurse should have explained and asked before doing stuff like that if it was necessary to remove clothing, etc. Even if the nurse wasn't trying to be a creep, it still makes you deeply uncomfortable when it doesn't need to. Not dramatic. This guy needs to go back to training or lose his job. I don't like the fact the top two answers start by telling you can ask for another nurse. Yes, that's true, but the number one point is the nurse is either intentionally a deviant or isn't following their training. Either way, it's 100% on them. They're supposed to tell you what they're about to do before they do it. The pulling the top down for the straps and not telling you before that he was about to do that is very bad practice. You should tell their superior. I work in healthcare. I know the rules. I've written and designed training materials for the company. Trust me. Please report it because that stuff goes unreported far too often. I work in the surgical department in a hospital, and I used to bring the patients to the anesthesiologists, and on the way I told them they're getting an EKG. Sometimes I could tell the women were really uncomfortable with their gowns, so I asked them if it's okay if a man does the EKG. But many anesthesiologists just pull down the blanket. Because in my hospital you're not allowed to wear the gown inside that area. You get a blanket instead. And sometimes leave the breasts exposed. I always looked out to cover as much as I could without being in the way. But not everybody cares about that. But I can definitely reassure you, this is not meant in a saw way. No matter what your breasts look like, we don't keep them uncovered for pleasure. Of course, a warning should be the bare minimum. I am not excusing that. But maybe this will help you or anyone reading this feel a bit more comfortable. How many male nurses are there exactly in this hospital? Something about this story feels off to me. I don't think you're being dramatic. I think it was unprofessional for him to touch you, lift your shirt, without telling you what he was doing or asking before he started. I'm kinda surprised a male nurse even did that. It should have automatically been diverted to a female. I'm a private person and went through IVF at UF. I had to continually say no male students in the room while I was being examined and only female student at a time. Your body, your rights. You don't want a male to touch you? Then you absolutely have the right to ask. Impossible to tell online if you're a crazy or if he's a pervert. We're only getting one side. Like someone else said, you can always ask for another nurse. If he gets that enough, questions will be raised about his conduct, I'm sure. Talk to the head nurse, or the head of the department. This does seem a little extreme.
If you enjoyed this video, please check out our playlists full of similar content. Epic Haircast is like doom scrolling for your ears. Please like, share, and subscribe.